Hi, I'm Jupiter Darkling and I'm here with Chrysus Darkling. We're gonna have a little chat about Elfia 2025 at Haarzuilens. It was the last edition of Elfia at Haarzuilens because they're gonna redo the castle to restore it to its former glory. And it's gonna be put on this list where you're no longer allowed to have events. And it was also the first time that my fiance was there and experienced it all. So in case you don't know what Elfia is, it is this festival where people dress up, mainly Renaissance clothing, Gothic clothing, steampunk, but also a lot of cosplayers go there. There's music, there's workshops, there's a really big terrain with food, drinks, and you just have a genuine good time. On top of that, you just take photos of people, you mix with people, and you just do whatever you want to do. So what we have done is we looked at some music at the performance. We walked around, showed my fiance the grounds a bit, looked at the gardens, took some photos, and we had some really nice food. And besides that, we're also going to talk about this festival a little bit from an artist's point of view.
So yeah, it's the first time I was there, and it was from the UK. Like usually when people like dress up fancy dress, it's normally like for parties and things like that. And what was strange, me from the UK seeing this was this like the arts that was involved with it, and people are just there walking around and dressed up in fancy dress, and then you've got the stalls that sell all this, and there was a mix of everything there. You've got not just this thing that in the UK would be a party. You dress up like that in the UK, you go into a party, you don't visit stalls, from what I know, and everyone's creative there. Everyone just gets so involved, and if anything, like we felt like the odd ones out. And normally how we dress, we get like attention drawn to us on the street. So next time I go there, and I definitely want to go there again, I'm gonna fully like dress up and go there and just full on dress up, get part of it, because it's one of the places that you're like odd one out if you're not dressed up. And it's just everything from there's so many different like fancy dresses there, but you can tell like it's alternative people that have like come together. And what was surprising, because I've spent a lot of time in the Netherlands, and it's quite rare where I've been so far that you see like alternative people. So it's strange seeing like so many. They're all there. They're out there. But it's nice in that one place. It's like being in that club. You feel welcome, and for the first time, like you don't get judged or looked at or anything. Everybody's equal there. So it was another experience with the Netherlands, because from the experience that we've had so far, it's a different culture to the UK. You know, people keep themselves to themselves on the street. People in the Netherlands can express views how you dress. So yeah, it was really strange going to this place where everyone's like dressed, and we felt normal in that way. So
Yeah, and a lot of people there, they make their own costumes, and you can tell they're like really creative themselves. And you got like little artist stalls and workshops. Like, for example, one year when I was there, because I've been before quite a few times, was how to weave a wicker basket. And that's just something that is creative as well. So from an artist's point of view, there's so much art involved in it. From the people's costumes, to the stalls, to the workshops, to the music being played live. Even the food is quite artistic, because you got like different types of food that you usually wouldn't eat, because it's a bit festival food and fast food, but not the typical fast food. Like you got Flammkuchen, this German thing, and a lot of those food places are German, funnily enough. Also, you got a cosplay/costume contest going on there, where they pick the person with the best or most creative or most original costume or best made costume. and they put on a whole show for that. And this is just one of those places where alternative people come together, show off their creativity, and just be authentic to themselves, and to get lost in this fantasy world to a point where when you're outside of the festival ground, people feel weird. They just look at you and like, huh, what's going on? What's happening? Why are people dressed up like this? Which, obviously to us, we would think it's a festival or something, or a party. But they just have no clue, and they feel outnumbered, and it's quite funny, actually.
So yeah, at the end we got on the train, and it roles reversed in a way. It was like we can get on the train, people, they'll laugh to themselves or whatever, and make comments or whatever, or you get funny looks. So they was outnumbered when we got on the train, because when we got on the train, it's all these people in these fancy dress costumes, and they was outnumbered. They like normal people sort of thing. They was all looking, and some of them got up and moved. They was embarrassed. But when they had the chance, you saw it. There was one girl who sat like near us, and there was a couple dressed.
Yeah.
And we saw her, and when she had the chance, and some people got off the train, when there was room, she got up, but her face was just so. She just looked angry, and it just looked like people can't have fun. Like what you just said there. It's clearly a festival thing's gone on. But they look so confused. It's like, what's going on? They was just looking around, and there was another lad on his phone, just looking around as if like, get me out of here. And that's where the seriousness of like people that you experience in certain parts, like where we've been in the Netherlands and things, and that's where the British are different as well, because like they would gather the festival's gone on, and we dress up on things, but there's a weird culture thing that goes on in the Netherlands and Britain. Yeah. In some ways, in some certain things in the Netherlands, like, people are so like normal in a way in daily life that they can't have fun. They take things so serious that you can't dress so different. I don't mean it in an offensive way to anyone like who's Dutch or anything, but it's from our experience that. Yeah. And then you go to the UK and everyone is just so in their own world and chilled, laid back. You can just be yourself, and you're a lot more relaxed here. And even though like the Brits are known to party hard, there's certain things that in the Netherlands like that I can't see that festival going on. And we do have things like that do go on in Whitby. There's goth events, and which I've not been to myself, so it could be interesting to like record something after this if we go to like Whitby with a festival there. But Whitby's like the capital goth in Britain there, so I'm guessing it's going to be something like what we witnessed there where we've been to, but in general it's the Brits party hard, but in the Netherlands, when they really go there, but in daily life they really are daily life and normal, and if that makes any sense. It's
Oh, it does make sense, because that's exactly what it is. People are so serious in the Netherlands, from my experience. Yeah, so, for example, I've been to this festival quite a few times. Last time I went was 11 years ago. So that's quite an amount of time to not go to a festival. But when I look back at the times I was waiting on the train with my then friends, you got especially elderly people walking up to us and asking like, "Oh, where are you going? You all look so fancy, and you all look so dressed up." And we'd explain to them, "Oh, there's a fantasy fair thing going on, and you dress up in characters, or you make up your own character, or you just dress up fancy." And they were so intrigued and so open about it, which is funny because usually elderly people are a bit more, from my personal experience, a bit like arm's length with these type of things, not as open-minded. But it's the other way around, because the elderly were so interested and so intrigued about what we were going and what we were doing, while especially younger people who saw us dressed up would just laugh and point at us. But once you get to the festival ground, everyone is just so warm and welcoming, and we're all a family, basically. You're all in the same boat, you're all having fun, you're all being...
a united feeling.
Exactly. And it's so nice. And it is just a really warm feeling that you're not alone in being different. Because usually you get that feeling because you're so singled out on the streets and you get comments thrown at you and you just feel so alone because you're like, okay, who else is different? And then you got this point where everyone who's different and likes to be themselves gather and just let everyone be themselves and don't judge. And it's a nice feeling. And then from an art point of view, it's great seeing so many creatives in one place because you can tell when someone has made something themselves. Because it just looks unique, it looks stylish, it looks great, it looks amazing. And you're like, wow, that's a skill.
Yeah, so what I found in Britain as well is like, when we dress up for some fancy dress, it can go the other way in some ways. It's like, don't get too fancy, or then you can get judged and laughed at in that way,
Yeah.
in that way. So it's just bizarre. The cultures are totally different.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just shocking how on the street people, just the way they are, and yet you can go to this place that I've not seen anywhere in the UK dress up in that way. And I think anyone from the UK listening to this might think, oh, you're talking rubbish. But until I think you've gone to this festival that we went to, until you see it, the Brits party hard, but one thing that we don't realise is the Dutch do, and it's relevant on this, but like when it comes to New Year, so again, the Brits party hard with New Year, especially the Scottish, and the Scottish like do it for days. But I went to the Netherlands, and it's something as a British person, I don't know about other people, but I've never heard about the Dutch on their celebrations until like I've met you.
Mm-hmm.
And so like with New Year, and I've obviously like Carla's told me about how they celebrate New Year in the Netherlands, but the thing in England is that 10 minutes you get the fireworks and then it starts dying out, and then about 20 minutes after there's still fireworks going on, but it's dying out. After that, half an hour, then 20 minutes, that's it, they're done. And then everyone just seems to go to bed.
Yeah.
Like they leave the parties and that's it. In the Netherlands, I've not experienced New Year in the Netherlands, but something similar is I was there when football was going on, and I think was it the Euro.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Euro, I think it was the Euro that was going on, and so I was in the Netherlands, and the Dutch team was going quite far on.
Yeah.
They was doing really well, and every time they was winning the match, the fireworks that would go off.
Yeah.
Now again, UK, just like New Year and football, that were party hard but yet nobody does fireworks when it's football year.
Yeah.
So the only time we do fireworks here is bonfire night and New Year.
Mm-hmm.
But from what you've told me, your New Year's go on all night, and fireworks go on and on.
Yeah.
Whereas the Brits, like say, 20 minutes, 10 minutes, and that is they're done. So what shocked me is why I relate football with what I've witnessed with the football is because in England that you've got this UK that football's everything, and obviously the fans are passionate, but the celebrations are totally different. The Dutch, when I was there with the football there, the fireworks was just going on and on and on and on, and it was bigger than like New Year, and it was like we're big on bonfire night. It was like bonfire night, but you don't hear that when it comes to football with the English. And you always hear these stories like the English go to Spain and they celebrate, and the England this and that, or wherever the tournament's going. Mm-hmm. English fans are always on the news that they're getting drunk. So you paint a picture in your mind that, it's because English fans and they're passionate about the football. But the Dutch, from what I'd seen, was completely different. And that's where, no matter what the Dutch do, they seem to be bigger when things come to like celebrations on things, where it's festivals or anything like that. And that's why I relate the football to that. It reminded me of things like that the English are just known for this, but yet I've never heard about the Dutch. I've never heard anyone say about how big the Dutch are on how they celebrate the football. Yeah. And I tell you now, the football there it puts the English fans to shame. And I think until people have been there, now normally people from England or UK they'll probably go to Amsterdam and they'll just go on holiday and Dutch dash what we call and stuff like that, like a weekend away and things, and that's it. But they're never there. Nobody's going to go to the Netherlands when the when the World Cup's on or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just going for an holiday. Obviously, because we've spent a lot of time, that's why I've witnessed certain things in the Netherlands that normally people won't witness. But also where you live is not a tourist area.
True.
It's, and a difference again with that. So I think just seeing that you're not in a tourist area, it's seeing Dutch culture as it is, and that's where it is. It's you're so big on your celebrations, but that's why I can't get my head around why, in day-to-day life, everyone is just so like normal sort of thing. You can't be different. So I just can't get my head around that.
No, same here. Like, things have changed a lot in the Netherlands. From when I was little, I have this very specific memory from when I was little, and my mom and I were at this shop, the supermarket, and it was this goth girl, and she was packing her bag, and I just stood next to her, at the till next to her, and I looked at her, just looking up at her, and she smiled at me, and I was just like, wow, she is so cool. And I've always had this thing for, like, being different, because when I was little, I didn't wear dresses, only jeans and hoodies, and when I grew a little bit older, because when I was a baby, I would not wear a dress. My parents could not put me in a dress. And when I grew a little bit older, like when I was 3 years old, I told my mom I want to be Wednesday Addams and grow up to be Morticia. Well, I'm well on my way to become that. So, and you could be different and no one would bat an eye. And nowadays, it's like, if you're different, everyone is just looking at you, staring at you, gawping at you, and just pointing and laughing and making rude comments. And it's sad, really, because there's no room to be yourself. And that's why this festival, Elfia, for example, is just so freeing, because everyone is different there. Everyone is who they are. And they're expressing themselves in a way they can't express themselves in day-to-day life. Whether it's just being a vampire goth, a steampunk person, or want to do cosplay as like their hobby, because a lot of cosplayers go there too. It's perfectly fine. It's all accepted. It's all welcomed. And it amazes me. And that's why I love this festival so much. And after 11 years, like, going back there, things have changed a little bit from what I last remembered. But 11 years is like a long time, to see change. But I've been there with old friends of mine, which I've come to realization were never really friends anyway. And now to experience this with my fiance was an absolute dream, because I've always wanted to go there with someone who I bond with really well and gel with really well, who wouldn't leave me alone there and make me feel a bit uncomfortable. And now I was just there with my fiance. We had the best time. We had so much fun. And it was just like, oh, look at that dress, or oh, look at that costume, it's so cool. Oh, that mask, oh my god, that mask is so cool. And we're just like that the whole time. And oh, and then look at the gardens, oh, the gardens are gorgeous. And oh, the castle looks so cool. And it's just stuff like that. You're just amazed by everything.
I noticed the staff as well. A little point there that from when we got our drinks and the beer and the way the staff was, they were so friendly. And we're introverts, and sometimes you rely on an extrovert to like put you at ease sometimes, and they just have this way of when they serve you.
Yeah.
But you can see they're really extroverted, and they're really welcoming. From giving out drinks to the burgers. Yeah. And they're just so different in service as well. Like, you don't normally get the way they serve there was different to when you get served anywhere else as well. I noticed that. And
like, what I also noticed, like, I'm a vegetarian and I don't preach or anything, but what I saw when we got our burgers, like my fiance, he had a regular burger and I had a vegetarian one. And there was this one person handling the vegetarian ones, and they had two sets of pans, one for the vegetarians and one for the regular ones. And that puts me at ease as well, because at festivals, especially at festivals, you don't know about cross-contamination. And here they took it so seriously. Like, there was this one lady handling all the vegetarian food and this other guy handling all the meat. So you just know there was no cross-contamination. And especially at festivals, that's a bit of an iffy thing, because you never know. And here they were so open, so transparent about it, and so, like, oh, this is how our kitchen runs, this is how it is, and it's safe to eat here. And seriously, that's amazing, because it also goes for, like, allergies and stuff. It puts you at ease if you have, like, an allergy, that you can eat at this thing safely. They don't have to worry about cross-contamination. And it's just those small things, those small details that matter a lot. From the food to the workshops to the stalls, everything.
We even had a laugh at one point with the about the food with the smiley faces, and it's like kind of our sense of humour. We saw this smiley face because they put all the sauces ready on the buns and stuff. We saw this smiley face and we noticed it, and then they noticed it, and then they're all pointing to each other on the workers. Look at this smiley face, and but it's just them little moments that you get, and you know, people are they're just different. They just chill, laid back, and laugh at everything, and because normally like that sense of humour, we like people can look at us, but if we're in a restaurant and we laugh and joke about them sort of things, again you get looks at how childish they are, or so it's kind of strange again to see that they're laughing away at something that we would laugh at.
Yeah, and it's like moments like that I completely experience. Yeah, and then from an artist point of view, like my fiance, in case you haven't looked up his art yet, it's very ethereal, very gothic, very dark, very gloomy. These girls that he paints digitally or traditionally. And seriously, if you're into that kind of thing, go to Elfia, because you can find lots of things in that genre. And his art would be absolute killer there, because you got like this Anne Stokes booth. And what I think my fiance's art is like kind of Victoria Francis meets Tim Burton. Kind of like Misty Circus, the whole style that Victoria Francis did, but like darker. And I think his art would be absolute killer there. And if you like that kind of stuff, you would find so many stalls, so many little artists there. Because there's a lot of people who just sell their art there as well. Who you could help out and support by buying something off their small business. And I think it's incredible because from what I looked up, to have a stall there, the minimum base price was €50 for a day. And then you could add things on like a floorboard section that was like 25, and a chair was 25, and having a cover for if it rains was 75 or something. So you could like make it as expensive or as cheap as you want to be a vendor there. And that's something that we're also going to look into, see if we can like vend my fiance's art there sometime in full costume, because we definitely want to do full costume next time. So it's not just a festival if you're into like the Renaissance thing or the steampunk thing. No, it's also a festival if you're into arts, because there is just so much art going around there.
Yeah, experiencing it, I'd love to sell there, and I think it's one of the things that, like anything, somebody can tell you about something, but until you see it and witness it yourself, and I've been there myself now, and seeing what's there, I'd be comfortable selling there, because you've seen the people that are there, and there's a lot of dark things there. I mean like animal skulls are there on sale and stuff like that, and there's a lot of dark things there, but everything's like like a little passion on everything that they've got.
Yeah.
And I noticed like there was an artist there as well. A shame he didn't have business cards, but he had like such a unique style.
Definitely.
But yeah, it wasn't really dark what he was doing. No. It was like different to like all the other stuff. It was pretty like whimsical. There was like castle paintings of the place that was at, but he had this really unique style, and it's a shame because we don't know who he is, and couldn't go back and Google.
He had a really hard name to remember as well.
Yeah, and as an artist, like you're always told, like well, any sort of business always put like your business cards out there. Yeah. So it's a shame on that, and you don't know where, or we didn't buy that much. We was going to go back, and we never did, and because it was cut close to the closing time. But we picked up like a lot of business cards there from people that every time we were saying like, oh, we'll buy from these, and so we picked a lot of business cards up, and that's where definitely if anybody does anything like that, you've obviously got to you've got to do your business cards, because I would have took one of his because he had like this distinct style that he had, and
definitely
and just because like that's the thing with business as well, people can get a bit disheartened that if nobody buys, but always take note of who takes your cards, because they could be a potential buyer, because everybody that we took a business card from were actually interested in buying.
Yep.
And but there was a few people there that didn't have business cards. And I was surprised at that, you know, because like you're always told to have them sort of things. And it's just a shame. If anyone sells there, just put your business cards there, because you don't know, you're losing sales definitely.
Yeah.
Just because on the day, spare of the moment, a lot of people like might not buy things, but they can take a card.
Yeah, and when you take a card, because there's like there was this one artist there who makes really cool jewelry, and I love her style, but it was stainless steel, and I have like really bad metal allergy, so I thought to myself, oh shit, I can't, get anything. But then I read further on the card, underneath the stainless steel bit, and it said that the other items that are not stainless steel are coated in this hypoallergenic material, so it's suitable for everyone. And then I thought to myself, that's absolutely genius. And that's where you're catering to the right people, because you're catering to everyone, because metal allergies are not rare. It's very common. And I thought to myself, I need her business card, because I'm definitely gonna buy from her if I ever have the money again, because she had earrings and everything that I just, oh my god, I need. And vegan skulls. Like, I love animal skulls and everything, but I'm always a bit iffy about, like, how do they get them? How do they get the skulls? How do they get the feathers and everything?
Mm.
That kind of weirds me out, because a lot of businesses don't disclose where they get their supplies from.
Yeah.
Which is fine, but when it comes to animal materials, like a skull, where did it come from? That is a bit sus to me personally. So there was someone who was selling vegan skulls, like 3D printed and everything, and that has me, like, gripped, because I don't have that worry about where did it come from.
Yeah, and there was also another thing that I'd seen as well, because the bare feet and claws and stuff like that we'd seen, because with the dinosaur business that we've got in, obviously when you look at like dinosaur feet and birds' feet, they're identical. And anyway, so we're looking at that, and I saw these, and it was like, wow, you're looking at like dinosaur feet. And I wanted to buy them, but again, it's that thought, where's it come from? But yet you thought, because there was real.
Yeah.
But you thought...
They were fake.
There was fake, yeah. But there was nothing there saying anything was like, any reassuring. There was nothing there in a sound saying that it was to reassure you that it was perfectly fine.
Exactly.
To buy these, and that's what put me off on that, because like how have they got them?
Yeah.
And as a dinosaur fan sort of thing, like I wanted something of that, because it's the nearest thing, it's preserved, and but again, how do they get them?
Yeah.
And that's where they need to make it, and that's where it does seem a bit sus why they're not mentioning, because if that was my business and it was ethical how they got them, and say the bird, it was from birds that had already died.
Yeah.
Well, to me that would be fine, because they've already died.
Exactly.
But there's nothing there saying that.
No.
And as a business, and that's where you do think, are they covering something up? Because sometimes people, when they don't say something, it's because they've got something to add, maybe, and that's where or I'm not saying they've got something to add, but it's something that you've got to think about in the future, because I know as a business myself that you want to make that point there.
Yeah.
Because if I was to sell anything like that, and I think as a business person, you just put it out there, because people are going to be concerned how you got them.
Yeah.
And I wanted one, but it puts you off, and it's a shame that there's nothing like in concrete there, knowing where it's how it's come about.
Yeah, and like there was this one stall that sold pinned bats, and I absolutely love bats, but I know for a fact if 9 out of 10 people who pin bats got them unethically because they're like protected animal species and stuff like that. So I know that it's wrong. If you are a collector of like dead animals and stuff, don't get bats. It is unethical. You're doing more harm than good. And when I saw that, I had like 2 feelings. I was very excited to see a pin bat, but very upset and angry at the same time because I know how unethical it is. And that's why I'm like, oh no.
You got right, like to say that, because if I was there on my own, and I know you're into like bats and what you said before, so I wouldn't have known anything like that. And I know they're endangered. I can't say it properly.
No, you said it.
Yeah, and I know that, but there might be a part of me like, oh, grab it, and something about the fair might have made me thought, oh, it'll be ethical.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So if I'd have grabbed that, but when you said that, but I did have a feeling with the bat thing, and obviously when you said it, but if I was on my own, that's where you could probably grab it. As somebody is a fan that would appreciate something like that. And the same with the bird thing, that's why I couldn't bring myself to really buy it, and that was before the bats, because there was something there that made me think a bit, how have they got that?
Yeah.
And they need to state that.
Definitely.
And we're not obviously accusing anybody. They might totally be ethical how they've done it, but if people are doing that, you just state it, and...
Yeah, because if you do it ethically, there's nothing wrong with it, and then you reassure your future buyers or potential buyers that everything's fine. And that's how you grow your business as well, because then you get more people who are concerned about these things, because they feel like, oh, I can get this, my special interest, because everything's fine. And then you reach more potential buyers. So it's basically just like a tip, like if you have like a business that sells dead animal products, cool, but state how you get them and educate people on how you got them, because you reach more people. And yeah, it's just like a little tip actually. No criticism. Like a little tip, but not criticism or anything. And in the end, we only bought like this board. We could put a little tea light in it and had like the face of the moon on it for tarot cards, because I'm big on tarot cards. And yeah, it is just like, from an artist point of view, you appreciate a festival like this so much, because there's art everywhere. There's art in the costumes and art in at the stalls, and just everywhere you look. It's just so beautiful and so inspirational that we came back from it and we felt like inspired to get back to work and build up more stock for, if we want to vend there.
Yeah, and the last thing I want to say is the castle as well, because it's built different to the castles I know in the UK, and like different sections. It was such a big castle that had its own church as well, and I've never witnessed like something like that before. And I don't know how old the castle is, but it looks so modern as well.
It's from 15 something.
Yeah, and it's got this. It's built on this like river around it as well. It's like how is it surviving with all that water around it as well, and but the building itself fascinating to like see. So but it's just a shame it's been there all this time, and it's a shame it's going to leave. But or they might find a even better location. I don't know. But and something else I loved as well is like when you're leaving the castle, and there's this white line, and you officially like. Once you cross that white line, you're out of the festival, and I love that way. Everyone was leaving, and just the queue was building up, and I was wondering like what was going on, and people was like even giving the photos, taking the leap over the of the line. I mean, you jump over the line, and I just even things like that. I just love them sort of things, and you look back at the castle when you're leaving it, and it's just totally different to what I know as a castle, and. It just looks so modern. Ours looked like real crumbly and old, and
yeah,
totally different styles.
Yeah, so that was the 25th anniversary of Elfia, and it's a shame it's leaving Haarzuilens, but I'm sure that they'll have found another location that is just as good or maybe even better. But we'll see that next April, hopefully.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's been this episode. If you want to check us out on socials, you can find us under the handles Art by Darkling and Mrs. Darkling Art. Same with our Weebly websites, our shops. And hopefully we get to have you in another podcast. Thank you for listening.